Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general mid-month reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of March. I hope you're well. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today. Here it is. Now, if you haven't seen these videos before, we do them slightly differently to the way that we do the monthly read, in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I think that there is wisdom or a lesson contained in every experience and interaction that we have, if we are open to seeing it, and too often we're not. You know, hindsight is 20/20, and we can look back on things a year, 2 years down the line. And we can see why we were in the situation that we were in and where it was taking us, which is often, you know, better than where we were before. It's an exercise in perspective, essentially. Trying to get out in front of that hindsight, if you will, right? So what we're going to do is pull 3 cards for your current energy. It's going to be like an energetic snapshot and see where you are right now. And then from that, we're going to pull 3 cards and see why you are in that energy in the first place. And sometimes it's trying to teach you something about yourself. Sometimes it's trying to clear the way for you to go and start something new. Sometimes it's showing you something old that needs closing out. There's no reason why it can't be all 3 or something else altogether, actually. We won't know until the cards hit the table. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll close it out with 3 cards of advice. This is something that I've done for myself for years, and it's really helped me when I've been going through something that I don't really understand, and I make sense of it all, you know? So that's why I do it for you. So let's start off with 3 cards for Cancer's current energy. We have the Page of Cups. We have the 4 of Swords. One more for Cancer, please. Oh, we've got 2. We've got the King of Wands and the Ace of Cups. That's amazing. So, Page of Cups, 4 of Swords, Ace of Cups and King of Wands. This feels like a release here. Now, the 4 of Swords is the one that's drawing my eye the most, actually, out of all that are on the table. It feels like this is the pivotal move for you, Cancer. And it's interesting because it's in the reverse. The 4 of Swords is my card of meditation. It's a card of processing after things have been difficult. It can also be a card of taking a break, taking a step back, you know. But the whole reading seems to hinge on this. It seems to be the fulcrum somewhat. Because what we have here with this page is a diversion. I always see the pages as the going off in a slightly different path to where we had anticipated. Now, sometimes the Page of Cups can be an apology, and it might be that you've received an apology that just seems to have sorted everything out for you. You know, any kind of struggles or difficulties that you were having suddenly seem to have kind of faded away because you've had an apology that you perhaps, as I'm saying this, I'm hearing you didn't expect to get. But for others of you, it's a slight turn in the road, right? You emotionally reacting to something in a different way than you had anticipated. Either way, whichever way applies here, it seems to have unlocked a different route for you via this 4 of Swords. Now, it showing up in the reverse is not actually a bad thing here at all, because what it says to me is that the processing is done. Right, the need to step back and take a break is also done. I mean, it follows on from the 3 of Swords, right? And the 3 of Swords is that visceral scene of absolute heartbreak, right? So then the 4 of Swords becomes that point where we pull back into ourselves, while we process what has happened, make sense of it, and before we, you know, emerge different on the other side. But because it's in the reverse for you here, it's coming back from that break. It's re-engaging with the world again. And like I said, it might have come off the back of an apology, or it might just have come off the back of you really sorting out your feelings and understanding how you feel about something, right? Finding the meaning, making sense of it all. But it seems to have unlocked this for you. And I like this very much because we've got the Ace of Cups and the King of Wands. We've got a card that speaks about an internal, possibly slightly ephemeral kind of state of being. And we've got a card that speaks about positive action right? It's about behaviors, it's about doing things here. And the two of them coming up together is actually really rather beautiful. Now, a lot of readers quite correctly interpret this as new love coming along, right? It's possibly a new person. Sometimes if there are other cards present, we can see it indicating pregnancy and whatnot. It's literally new life coming into the world. But this feels like it's an internal state for you. That's the way that I tend to read this card more often than not anyway. It's new love for yourself. It's a new comprehension of yourself. It's forgiveness and compassion that starts within you towards you first and completely changes the way that you see the world, you feel about the world, you engage with the world, you know. Somebody who has got an Ace of Cups going on in here is someone who has a self-generating well of all of those things that we have tended to look to other people for. So our validation and our self-worth, you know, please tell me, indicate in some way through behaviors or, you know, your affection or whatever, that I am a worthy human being. Somebody who has this does not need that from other people. They do it for themselves, and that makes them feel very, very different to other people. You know, it's a change of vibration. Cancer is what it is, and it's married up here with a card of external behaviors, external efforts, right? The strongest card, in fact, in the Wands suit for external efforts and external behaviors. So you are changed currently, you know, which is lovely to see. And where you may have been withdrawn, now you are ready to engage. You know, where you might have been taking a little minute just to make sure you know where you were, now you're ready to come back and start dealing with people again. I mean, the King of Wands is a Leo card, and so as an extension we can see it's an incredibly sociable card. But it seems to me like the kind of people that you are socializing with now, or beginning to get to know perhaps now, are entirely different to the kind of people that you are used to meeting. And it feels very vibrant, it feels very exciting for you, actually, Cancer, which is wonderful. Almost just to confirm, we have the Ten of Cups at the bottom of the deck here. Like that's complete emotional fulfillment, but of more than just one person, right? It's a collective state here. You feel to me a lot like you are possibly meeting new people, or at least making the effort to meet new people with that King of Wands there. Maybe you've taken up a class, maybe you've just started being chattier, you know, all together with people that you meet in the supermarket, or, you know, whatever it is. Maybe you've joined a group of people who have shared interests with you. Either way, everything feels very light right now, like just positive, but not that kind of pseudo positivity where we ignore all the bad things in our life and desperately focus on the good things. No, this is more kind of contentment and fluid, actually. It's quite exciting. Let's have a look and see where you are in this energy. What's Cancer to learn from this? We have the Four of Cups, which is interestingly a card that has come up for you a lot, and the Five of Wands. Behave for Cancer. Thank you. We have the Six of Swords. And the Ace of Swords. This is wonderful. And we've got the Star card here. This is a turn to the future. Okay? This is considering your future and what you want. You know, like, what are your goals? What are your wishes? What are your dreams here with this Star card? Now, the reason why this is important is because Cancer, particularly as a sign, is given to have a bit of a predisposition towards living in the past, right? And kind of rolling over things that have happened in the past and making them your fault, you know, even though they were not your responsibility. It was, you know, internalizing everybody else's reactions and deciding that it was something about you and this was something that you needed to work on and all this kind of thing. I feel like a complete liberation has occurred for you here, Cancer, because you've turned around and you've gone, oh, I'm not actually going that way, I'm going this way. And This card here deals with the act of rejection, sometimes rejecting too, you know, if you're doing it to somebody else, but broadly, rejection. And this is something that Cancer has struggled with for a very long time. We also have that Five of Wands there, which is a card of conflict. And so, you know, it could be the conflict that you have with other people that leads to you being rejected, or this subconscious kind of expectation that rejection will occur at some point if you are not always putting your best face on, you know, your best foot forward, always investing in other people and making it about other people. These two things here are being left behind. Because here we have the Six of Swords. You know, the Six of Swords is a card of moving from choppier waters into calm, right? That's the given, you know, received wisdom of this card here. But it being swords, we're dealing with the mind, and we're dealing with intellect and reason and rationality and logic, you know? So what this says is that things that have occupied a purely emotional place in your heart, I guess, well, but certainly in your mind up until this point. Excuse me. I've got this kind of, this motion is being shown to me here. It's just like taking a big blanket and kind of just, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of flapping it out, you know, getting rid of all the dust and everything so that you can actually see the pattern on whatever it is you're shaking out here. And it's making it conscious, Cancer, which it wasn't done before, which it wasn't before. I mean, there's a notion of the examined life going on here, and examining it from a place of logic rather than a place of pure emotion like you have done before. I mean, you're very sensitive, you're borderline psychic actually for most of you, because you are a water sign. But that crab shell kind of either clamping onto something really, really hard and not letting go of it, or sort of scuttling off and kind of hiding yourself under the armour of the, you know, the crab shell, is something that you have struggled with a lot over the years. You know, it's you kind of scuttle up sideways at emotional stuff, you know, please like me, you know, I've got my Venus in Cancer, right? Please don't reject me. Even if you're not consciously thinking those things, subconsciously, that is the action that's going on there. And being aware of that now, examining your reactions and examining all of these things has brought it into your conscious mind. And I feel like you've seen it for what it is now, because you've got that Ace of Swords, right? You've got a new way of seeing not only yourself but also the world. You know, the two aspects here that seem most important are the ones that are represented by the aces. You know, we've got your emotional state, but we've also got your mental state too, and they're at a point of great clarity for you now. So I am enough, I am important, you know, if somebody rejects me, then that's okay, because I am not rejecting myself anymore. You know, I thoroughly embrace myself, and if somebody doesn't want me, that's okay, that's fine. It doesn't mean that I have no value as a human being. It means that this person doesn't see it, and that's fine. I'm moving on, you know, but it's married up with this conscious knowledge too. It's like, as within, so without, as above, so below. Like everything seems to be sitting nicely in alignment with you at the moment. And the lesson, I think, for you here, if we pull these 4 cards up so you can look at them, is that at any point, these here, which could be defaults, you could say that they were defaults, you've always been able to get up and walk away from those, but you needed to see it first. I mean, if any of you have ever seen the Sylviette Coagula videos that I did when we were talking about the shadow, you know, I said in there that I thought that the most important lesson that anyone needed to learn was that their consent was key to everything. So where you've been stuck in that for years, it is, I'm afraid to report, because you consented to be there. At the point where you removed your consent, at the point where you realised just how important and powerful you were, and you could choose to say no to feeling like this is where you get to move. This is where you get to literally get up and go and do something that is much more fulfilling for you. It's a lesson in empowerment, Cancer. And it's a lesson in finding the self, and it seems to me like you have done that beautifully. They have some cards of advice, please. Yeah, that's awesome. We've got the Five of Pentacles, we've got the Sun, we've got the Three of Swords. Yeah, this is not to say that you will not ever get your heart broken again. It's not to say that you won't ever be in a situation where, you know, a situation is not meeting your basic needs, or you are not meeting your own basic needs. Like, these things happen and they tend to come in cycles, but you have broken a major cycle, and I feel like you've been breaking these cycles for a year now, Cancer, and every little one that you smash, it's like it's another step forwards into the sun. You know, your card is the Moon for me. It's the card of Cancer, and that for me is all the things that are hidden. It's the subconscious, it's the bits of you that you don't see, but everything's coming into the sun now. Everything's coming into consciousness for you, and it's okay. It's not okay, it's actually entirely possible for you to shine like the sun, regardless of what is going on around you, because the emotional structures that are in place inside of you now are stronger than this. The way that you see the world is stronger than this. And actually, these things don't feel like the end of the world anymore. They feel like challenges. You know, it's like your mindset's completely shifted now. And because you are now more aware of these, because these things are now in your consciousness, the direct corollary of this is actually that they do not affect you in the same way. They cannot affect you in the same way. Because your consent, your power, your vulnerability, these are all your superpowers, right? And when this situation happens, you can just walk away from it, right? Because you choose to do so. And I think that this is a really, really strong position to be in, actually, Cancer. Like, you're riding a high at the moment. And long may it continue, I think. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this was helpful. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I will see you soon.